Well, testing, testing. Let me know if the sound is okay. Also, let me know if the music is too loud or if you can't hear it. Phil FOMO, my go-to guy. Thanks for joining in and thanks for letting me know about the sound. Are you ready for the new game week FOMO? Phil FOMO, my go-to guy. Thanks for joining in and thanks for letting me know about the sound. So, are you ready for the new game week FOMO? My team is pretty much locked in. It will probably be the one on the screen at the moment. Hopefully Gabriel will play. We got some good news about him. He has started training for Arsenal. Hopefully he can contribute in game week 16. My team is pretty much locked in. It will probably be the one on the screen at the moment. Of course, a couple of glaring
Hopefully Gabriel
omissions in
will
this
play.
squad.
We
No
got
Haaland,
some
no
good
Salah.
news about him. He
Taking a
started
punt for game
training
week
for
16
Arsenal.
by
Hopefully
keeping
he
Kevin
can
De Bruyne,
contribute
and hopefully he
in
can match
game
or
week
outscore Salah
16.
the next game week. I actually think that Fulham are kind of underrated. They have good defensive
Of
stats
course,
and
a couple of glaring omissions in this
might
squad. No
actually
Haaland,
be
no
a
Salah.
tight game. Liverpool
Taking a punt for game week
against
16
Fulham.
by keeping Kevin De Bruyne. Hopefully he can match or outscore Salah the next game week. I actually think that Fulham are kind of underrated. They have good defensive
Team looks
stats
okay
and
this week. Most people should have good fixtures this
might
week. Yeah,
actually be a
a
tight
lot of the
game.
popular FPL
Liverpool
teams and the popular
against
players,
Fulham.
they have at least a home game for game week 16. So most teams looks really good on paper, definitely. My only player at the moment,
Team looks okay
which
this week.
plays away
Most
from
people should
home,
have
is
good
actually
fixtures
Jared
this
Bowen.
week. Yeah,
So I could
a
actually
lot of the
bench
popular
Bowen and
FPL
play
teams and
Kirkis and have
the popular players, they have
all players
at least a home game
playing at
for game
home.
week 16. So most teams looks really good on paper, definitely. My only player at the moment which plays away from home is actually Jared
You
Bowen.
got a
So
sound
you
echo
can
on
actually
your
bench Bowen and play
microphone.
Kirkis and have all
Hmm.
players playing at home.
So this will fix the echo. Kareem, sell Weltman for a -4
You
or
got
start
a sound
Robinson.
echo on your microphone. Hmm.
It depends who will you bring in for Weltman. What's your budget? And
Yeah,
I
hopefully
don't
this will
think that
fix the
Robinson
echo.
is a really good option this game week,
Kareem,
but
sell Weltman for a
taking a
-4 or
-4
start
for a
Robinson.
defender it really hardly ever works out, but depends on for how long
Well, it depends who will you
you
bring
have
in
planned
for Weltman.
and
What's your
what
budget?
player you're bringing in.
And I don't think that Robinson is a really good option this game week, but taking a -4 for a defender really hardly ever works out, but depends on for how long you have planned and what player you're bringing in.
So is there still an echo in the microphone or is the echo gone? Hopefully. I just realized that I have a new webcam set up with a green screen actually, so hopefully the picture is a bit better, but I just realized that the cam had the microphone turned on, so that's probably the reason why we got some echo. Charlie, hi. Sound is fixed. All good. Thanks, FOMO. Would you keep Welbeck this game week? So he'll probably he'll probably play this game week, and they have a good fixture. But I don't really see him as one of the best options at the moment. So it kind of depends on the budget and who you will bring in and how many transfers you have, etc. Don't see him as a priority sell at the moment, but if there are a couple of better options. Hello there, how many years have you been playing FPL? Let's see, it's around 12 years, I think. Wow, long time. Yeah. I actually started playing the game in, it must have been like the 2012 Euros or something like that. Or was it a World Cup? So I saw a commercial for fantasy football from UEFA, and I started just picking a team. Didn't really give it that much thought, to be honest, but when I realized later that summer that there was an actually game for this in the Premier League and a community as well, I just love the idea of it. I think that it makes the games that much more interesting for me to watch. So I used to watch the biggest teams in Premier League when they played. I always had the channels, but after started playing FPL, I saw more interest in the lesser teams as well. And of course, in the beginning, I did really well. I have 2 top 1000 ranks. So gave some motivation as well. Good evening. What's your opinion of this new chip? If Liverpool Everton moves into 24, will it triple Captain Mo if he's still in this rich Wino form? A good question about a new chip. I just spent some time earlier this morning actually trying to get a grip of it, and it looks like this will be something that we can enjoy. It takes a bit of planning, and we have to, if you want one of the managers from the top teams, you just have to have 1.5 million in the bank, which takes a bit of planning as well. You have to look at the fixtures and decide. So my plan at the moment is probably to see if one of the teams that have had kind of a tough start to the season, to see if they can catch some form again. So it's like the points are doubled if the manager in your team plays against an opponent that's 5 places above them at the table. So I think that there's a lot of potential in the new ship. And just the reviews that I've read over at X in the comments on some of the posts, it feels like the FPL community is really negative towards the new chip, but I think that we just have to give it some time. I like the idea at least. In my opinion, the new chip isn't good. Yeah, and I think that that's the majority of feedback that, especially the main Fantasy Premier League account, when they posted it, I saw that a lot of managers were like disappointed. They were expecting something else, and probably a bit confused as well, because this is brand new to the FPL players, and yeah. Again, how much in eye test is eye test important to your transfer decisions? I love your Instagram approach to putting the armband on ball. Yeah, I think that the eye test is really, really important, and especially in the case with Jared Bowen. I watched the game. They had a Monday night game, and I think that it was the West Ham against Leicester, right? And West Ham did really well, especially in the first half, and Bowen, he was playing up front as well for majority of the match. He should have scored a couple in that game, so I just felt that if this will continue, then he will get something in game week 15, and he did. So even though the stats weren't that great, you can just see that he was like sprinting into the box and that he was really hungry. So the eye tests can actually really add something to the stats as well. If you watch the games, then you can get some extra information. So for me, the eye test is really important. So for me, last game week was actually kind of unlucky that Palmer did so well. Of course, I had him in my team, but he was so heavily captained, so the Bowen captaincy. It worked out, but yeah, the ones going for Palmer were the winners last game week. But I'm really satisfied with Jared Bowen in game week 15, of course. But back to the question, the eye test is really really important, to be honest. This is, let's see, I'll make this chat a bit bigger. Gudis is one I would choose over Bowen, but I'm not sure Gudis starts all games. We'll get some of, yeah. Is that Jared Bowen, especially in December when there are so many games? I think that Bowen is probably the better option, even though he's a bit more expensive. Kudus is a really good player as well, and he passes the eye test. Really unlucky last game week not to get something, but I still believe that when we get closer to Christmas as well, with midweek games, I think that Jared Bowen is the better option, especially when it comes to expected minutes, and he will probably play most of the games as West Ham's number 9 as well, and they have good fixtures. So out of position, Jared Bowen playing up front for West Ham with good fixtures. Probably maybe on penalties as well. Paqueta missed the last one, and he will not play every minute, injury prone. So if you can afford Jared Bowen and have a spot in your midfield, I definitely do believe that he is a good option at the moment. Bryce, help me sell Bruno Fernandes for Enzo. Excuse me. Sell Bruno Fernandes to Enzo to fund the Visa to Isak move. Only 2 free transfers this game week. The thing is, I really like Isak. I would really love to have him in my team. I could get him by selling Havertz, but I'm not sure I will use a transfer on that. But I'm not a really big fan of Enzo. I've been saying it for a couple of game weeks though, so he has, of course, done really well, but I'm not sure that he will continue delivering. It kind of feels like this Kovacic for Man City at the beginning of the season, where he did really well, scored a couple of goals, even had a brace. But when we look at historical stats, he's not really a goal scorer. So of course, when you consider the fixtures, Visa has done well, but Brentford, they have really tough fixtures coming up. So So how much can you spend on that second midfielder? So of course Enzo is decent. You can just write him off because he's done so well, but probably see some rotation at some point as well. Not Rogers or Semenyo. Okay, so is this like your 4th or your 5th midfielder? Is he going to play every game week? And how much can you spend? 6.5. Okay. Fourth midfielder. My fifth will be Emil Smith Rowe. So it's someone you can like play Smith Rowe in the fixtures when Fulham have a good opposition. So it's really hard because there are a couple of good midfielders, but some of them are. It's a bit harsh to call them traps, but the likes of Enzo and Cloyford from Bournemouth, of course, they have done really well recently, but I can't really see them keeping keeping it up, to be honest. So mm. On the other hand, there are a couple of options that I really like, and that's Gordon from Newcastle, Mitoma from Brighton, and Jared Bowen, as mentioned. But those are a bit out of your price range, unfortunately. But sorry, Bryce, that's probably not too helpful. But yeah, you have the likes of Kulusevski, Barnes from Newcastle as well. But the thing is that when we get even closer to Christmas with midweek games, I can't see them sit out some of the games. So if you can handle 30-20 minutes from the likes of Kulusevski and Barnes, they are probably the two best options for 6.5. The thing is, you're selling like two nailed on players in Bruno Fernandes and Visa to get in Isak, which I really like, and he will probably do well, but he's injury prone as well, and yeah, he's been injured, and I can't really see Enzo keeping it up. So if you really believe in Isak, then it's probably worth two transfers, but face this game so hard, bro. I'm thinking of just keeping Bruno and Visa. It's like they're not the worst assets to have in your team going forward, to be honest. So it might be a good idea just having a bit more patience with them. Bruno, he's ticked along fine after Amorim came in, 2 games with 9 points, so he's not the worst option. If Man United get a penalty, he will probably score and get points. And Visa looks to be Brentford's main source of goals lately. Of course, Mbeumo did good last week, but for the last 5 game weeks, Visa has comfortably outscored Mbeumo. So I don't necessarily see Visa as someone we need to sell, even though the fixtures gets a bit more tricky going forward. Cortex Evening TFS, I hope you're doing well, Matt. Thanks. Yeah. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining in. Ready for a new game week? In your honest opinion as an FPL asset, which player do you think is overrated and underrated as FPL assets at the moment? As mentioned, I think that, not sure if he's overrated but overhyped, is Enzo Fernandez. Could see him keeping goal scoring up, to be honest. Visa, such an underrated, and Visa probably one of the underrated assets as well. So if Enzo is kind of overrated, Visa is probably the opposite. And Mbeumo has taken most of the attention when it comes to Brentford, especially at the start of the season. And Visa, he got injured as well, so we kind of forgot about him, but he's back now, and It's always really close to the opposition's goal, while Mbumo he tends to drift and sometimes, like Saka, actually play really wide outright. So, but Mbumo still on penalties. So, when the fixtures gets better for Brentford, I will probably get Mbumo back in my team, but I'm fine going without him for the coming game weeks. Other overrated assists, I think, especially at the start of the season we when Watkins was not on penalties for 9 million. I think that he was not really good value. Still okay, but now he's yellow flagged, and especially with Aston Villa having so many fixtures coming up in Europe as well. It said so. um, let's just say that I'm not his biggest fan. Of course, he's done well, but I mentioned Kovacic. I don't really like those players that often picks up a yellow card playing deep. They have like other responsibilities in that team than scoring goals, but of course sometimes they have some good games and gets a couple, and this tends to start a bandwagon in the FPL community as well, and they're always cheap, right? So we want enablers that will score goals as well, but I don't really see Enzo keeping it up as mentioned. So I think that he's maybe a bit of a trap, to be honest. But I don't hate him. You spotted it. Yeah, no Salah for me this game week. I will take a punt on leaving him out for game week 16. I will keep De Bruyne playing against Man United, and hopefully he can match or outscore Salah. But yeah, it's when we get closer to the deadline, I get the feeling that Salah will do well, but yeah, I got this question about overrated FPL assets, and Kevin De Bruyne is probably one of them. Of course, a really big name, but at the price, playing for an out of form Man City with no penalties in his locker, Kevin De Bruyne is probably one overrated asset, but he can still do well, of course. He's on set pieces for Man City, and a home game against their neighbors, Man United, is probably one of the best games for Man City to like ignite and restart their season. Did really bad in the Champions League midweek though, but yeah, will be a really great differential for me if De Bruyne does something and Salah blanks. That will be like a huge swing for me when it comes to rank. But of course, there's a risk if Salah really holds, then he will be probably over 100% owned in game week 16 as well. So that will really hurt. Then I need a couple of returns from my other players as well, especially, of course, Palmer, who probably will be my captain. Some content creators getting Enzo just to enable getting Trent. Enzo is not getting into my team. Yeah, I've seen a lot of transfers, double transfers, that's selling defenders to bring in Trent and midfielders being sold for Enzo. I don't like this move at all, to be honest, especially if you're going to play Enzo week in, week out. I can't really see that being a good move. I would much rather have a structure with midfielders priced at around 7 million, 6.5 to 7.5, so you can choose from the likes of Mitoma, Gordon from Newcastle, and of course Jared Bowen. Hi Diamond, thanks for joining in. Always enjoy your content. If you own Salah, would you still captain Cole Palmer this week? Yes, I would. Even though if I had Salah, I would probably captain Cole Palmer. Let's have a quick look at. Yeah, so when I pick my captain, I tend to base the decision on the opponent. So if you take a quick look at Brentford, Brentford only conceded 6 goals, which is not that bad in 4 game weeks. But when you take a look at expected goals conceded, it's actually they're actually 15th, and they are one of the worst teams when it comes to shots on target. So I think that Brentford is a good opposition for Chelsea as well when it comes to their formation and style. You can see this game being really open, and hopefully we can get a lot of goals. So Brentford, they are putting a lot of players, they allow them to go forward when they're in possession, so hopefully Chelsea can get a couple of transitions as well, which we know that Cole Palmer is really good at. So what's your current rank? My rank is not the best at the moment. It's 1.9 something, so not where I really want to be. After game week, was it game week 6 or 7? I was actually ranked 4.5. It was really terrible. I started the season with Salah and no Haaland, and I got Haaland in game week 6, and yeah, rest is history. But for the last 5 game weeks, I've started the climb, so 1.9, and hopefully I can get more green arrows going forward. One of the reasons why I will go for Kevin De Bruyne, have a little bit more patience with Kevin De Bruyne, is of course because my rank is not the best at the moment, but I still think that De Bruyne have the possibility to do well against Man United. Fulham are really good when it comes to defending. Check Brentford's expected goals conceded. Yeah, I didn't mention that, but Brentford, they are actually quite good at home, but when it comes to Brentford's away form, that's really, really terrible. So that's one of the reasons why I would probably go Palmer captain, even though if I had Salah. I've been impressed with Fulham in the last few games. I think Chelsea will outscore Liverpool this week. Yeah, that's my thinking too. I think that a lot will see that Fulham is actually a tough opposition. So especially if Liverpool don't score in the first 30 minutes, I think that they might struggle, to be honest. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm taking a punt on not bringing Salah in for this game week. And of course, it's Liverpool. They are playing first as well. There's no early game tomorrow. All games are starting at 15, but Liverpool Fulham 1500. Yeah. I'm really excited when I take a look at the fixtures right now. There are some good games this weekend. Will be really funny watching the goal show: Arsenal, Everton, Liverpool, Fulham, Newcastle, Leicester, and Wolves, Ipswich all playing at the same time. The late game on Saturday is probably not the most interesting, at least for me, when it comes to FPL. Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa. No assets for me in that game, but really good fixtures on Sunday as well. So I'm really looking forward to the games, and hopefully there will be some FPL joy as well. 2-1 Liverpool, yeah. Probably decent shout that. I still think that Liverpool will win, same as you, Diamond, but it's like on paper, Liverpool at home against Fulham, it looks so good. But as mentioned, I don't think it will be that easy. It won't be like 4 or 5-0 to Liverpool, even though, of course, they are top of the league, and of course, they have done well, but I don't really see them smashing Fulham. Newcastle, that's kind of surprising. Newcastle, they are actually top 2 when it comes to the bookies' favorites for clean sheets in game week 16. Arsenal, they are first. Newcastle, as mentioned, they are second. Liverpool against Fulham are third. So the bookies believe in Liverpool 40% Liverpool clean sheets. I just realized that Enzo Fernandez, he is actually the third most transferred in player with over 300,000 transfers in this game week. I just think that there will be some disappointed new owners, and that he will probably be like Kovacic, who got a couple of price rises, but then all of a sudden, all the owners just moved on. I think that the same will happen to Enzo. Watkins, Haaland, and Gabriel are the top three for transfers out. Isak, Saliba, and Enzo are the most transferred in. At the moment, Colmer is leading the poll for game week 16 captain. 57, 43 for Salah. No one has voted for Saka. Kind of makes sense considering Saka blanked last game week and game week 14 as well. While Salah is on fire and Cole Palmer is starting to deliver as well. So I think that Salah definitely will have over 100% ownership, while Cole Palmer will be really close. So for Salah, will probably be something like 130, something like that. So that's one thing that's kind of scary, of course, when you don't own him at all. But like if I owned him and didn't captain, I would still drop in rank. So taking a punt on a no Salah team for game week 16 kind of feels exciting, and I actually believe that Bruyne might outscore him for game week 16. Two new subscribers so far during the live stream. Thanks so much for subscribing if you're still around. Really, really appreciate it. So 2,663 at the moment. Really appreciate it. Most weeks I do a Q&A the night before the deadline. Sometimes I do a deadline stream as well on Saturdays. If I find the time, I will probably be able to have a deadline stream tomorrow. Hopefully I can set it up. and every week I post a team selection video with a quick look at last game week, transfer plans, the watch list, and captain selection. So if you are interested, subscribe to the channel. And as mentioned, to those who just subscribed, thanks. My team is close to locked in. I'm not considering any transfers, to be honest. I think Gabriel will play. I'll definitely start Lewis Hall against Leicester and Ait Nouri against Ipswich. Hopefully they can get a clean sheet, and I'll be really satisfied if they can do something going forward as well. So hopefully they can grab an assist in game week 16. Sanchez will play against Brentford. I'll bench Fabianski. Saka, he's my vice captain at the moment. Cole Palmer will of course start and be my captain. Bowen, another Monday night game for him, so hopefully he can replicate what he did in game week 15, playing away against Bournemouth. And Kevin De Bruyne, my probably one of the biggest differentials for me this game week, and I think that Man City probably and hopefully can do well against Man United on Sunday. Kai Havertz, Joao Pedro, and Cunha up top, all with decent fixtures playing at home. Hopefully, Joao Pedro will start. He started last game weeks after he returned from injury. He played 20 minutes against Man City in game week 11 and started every game since. So I'm kind of worried when it comes to Brighton assets. There will be some rotation, and Hurstler, he said it in the press conference ahead of game week 15 that he had so many options and that he will, and that we will see some rotation. So I won't be that surprised when we see Joao Pedro benched, to be honest. But Crystal Palace at home is a really good fixture, though. So hopefully, game week 16 is not the day that Joao Pedro gets a rest. Some interesting news from the Newcastle press conference. Pope, he is actually injured and probably out for at least 1 month, and that's not good for Hall owners, to be honest. Pope has done well recently, and he's a really good goalkeeper. Maybe a bit old-fashioned, but really good shot stopper. So that's not good for Newcastle, and especially the FPL managers with Newcastle defenders. And another interesting update from St James's Park is that Wilson is injured again, so Isak will be nailed on as their number 9, and he will remain on penalties. I feel kind of unlucky. I really like Isak as an option, and I picked him on my game week 12 wildcard, but he blanked in game week 12 and game week 13 as well, and he got injured, only played 20 minutes. So I sold him to Cunha. But in game week 14 and 15, Cunha's blanked, and Isaac has actually done really well, even though he has had the toughest fixtures. So kind of unlucky, but the reasoning for selling Isaac was that he was injured and that Wilson was back. So the transfer made sense at the time, but of course I wish I had Isak in my team at the moment. And I also needed the funds to get Saka, so I sold Isak, got in Cunha to upgrade Mbumo to Saka, but the irony is that Cunha, he has blanked the last couple of game weeks, and Saka has blanked as well for the last couple of game weeks, while Mbumo, he did really well last week, and Isaac, he has scored in back-to-back games. So on paper it made sense, but the outcome has been really, really bad. Try again. Hi. Ready for a new game week? Please go vote in the poll as well. At the moment, Palmer 62%, Salah 38%, so Cole Palmer is the favorite over game week 16 captaincy. I'm thinking of buying Odegaard for the next fixtures. What do you think? I really like him as a player at the moment, and especially after he returned from injury. I think that Arsenal are beginning to look a lot more like the Arsenal that we saw last season. So, of course, he's really, really important for Arsenal. But at the moment, I think that he will be like a player that assists the assister. So he's not really taking shots, not running into the box. So I'm not sure that he is one of the best options at the moment. Maybe and probably around that price point, but it kind of depends who you are selling and what your budget is, I suppose. So as mentioned, I like Odegaard as a player at that price point. I think that by getting a player like Jared Bowen, who's playing up front for West Ham with good fixtures, probably is a better option at the moment. Saves you 1.2 million as well. earlier on this stream, I actually got a question about overrated and underrated FPL assets. I think that maybe Ødegaard is a bit overrated at the moment as FPL assets. I, as mentioned, really like him as a player. I think he's really good and important for the Arsenal, but when it comes to FPL, he's not on set pieces anymore. Saka is taking the corners from one side and Rice is taking from the other. And when it comes to penalties, I think that Saka is nailed on to take their penalties at the moment. So he'll probably get a couple of direct free kicks, but they are rarely going in as well. So you're considering selling Mbumo to bring in Ødegaard? I see the temptation to be honest. He's a differential at the moment, and he's playing for Arsenal, nailed on for them. So I don't hate it. And when it comes to Mbumo, I think that if, of course, the decision got a bit more tricky after game week 15, where he actually scored 13 points, but the fixtures for Brentford are not the best. Chelsea away, then they play Forest. In game week 18, they have Brighton away, so not the worst fixture, but after this they have Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool. And Mbumo's ownership is still close to 30% owned, so if you don't think he'll do well, then selling him to bring in a differential like Ødegaard is probably decent, especially if you want and are willing to take a couple of risks. Let's check. Ødegaard 8.3, and he is selected by 6%. Yeah, so that's quite low for Ødegaard. So yeah, go for it. Try again if you think that Ødegaard will do well. My worry would be, of course, you're bringing in a player that we know will play most minutes, but he's not on set pieces. His job in a team is to like set up Saka in good positions. So yeah, tough one. But all it takes is for him to receive the ball and get into the box. Then he is deadly with his left foot. So of course, game week 16 might be the game week where Ødegaard gets a brace and your rank will skyrocket. I like Kudus as well. I watched the last couple of West Ham games. He's looked really lively after he came back from his 4-match suspension. So I think that bringing in Kudus is decent. Unlucky last game week not to get more points, but luckily for me, Jared Bowen got a goal and an assist. So on my watch list, I have Jared Bowen. He is my favorite to bring in when it comes to those mid-priced midfielders. He is playing as number 9 for West Ham. He is on set pieces, probably penalties as well, but he's taking free kicks and corners for them. So he has a lot of ways to get points. So if you can find the money to get Jared Bowen, then I will recommend it. I agree, he is not a huge return player, but I can't get to Saka, so I think he will be decent. Yeah, it's a decent punt, of course. He will always be in and around the opposition's box, but I think that he's probably maybe a bit too unselfish, so he loves to set up his teammates in good positions. So that's probably not what we want as FPL managers, but of course he is great and Arsenal's captain and fantastic player, to be honest. So yeah, if you can't get to Saka, my next priority from Arsenal would be Kai Havertz, probably playing up front, so he's even more involved when it comes to the finishing. But if you're satisfied with your forwards and just need a midfielder, then I think Ødegaard is a decent punt as well. So Gabriel, he's still yellow flag, but we got some positive news from Arteta. Actually, he said that Gabriel has trained and that he will probably be involved this weekend. So I'm pretty sure that if Gabriel is fit, he will start, and if Gabriel is not like a player that you put on for 15 minutes, especially if you're maybe if you're 1-0 up and needs to secure the lead. But I think that Gabriel, he will either start or not play at all. So, and my feeling is that he probably will play. Would you risk bringing in Gabriel? Middle option of Timber or cheap option of Kirkis? So to bring in for game week 16, I would probably pick Timber at the moment. I wouldn't sell Gabriel to bring in Timber, but if I had to pick one Arsenal defender this game week, it would probably be Timber, to be honest. We know that he will probably continue playing, and White is out for an extended period of time, and there is of course a slight risk that Gabriel doesn't play in game week 16, so that would be a real bummer if you bring in that doesn't play. I like Kirkis as well, and I think that Timber is a really good option to cover the Arsenal defense, at the moment. The thing is with Timber, we know that he is probably at some point a transfer waiting to happen, but I think that White is still some weeks away, so Timber will probably be a starter for, let's say, next 3 to 5 weeks. Yeah, definitely. I think that he will play most games, but it's really hard to predict in December, right? When we have midweek games in Arsenal, especially because of their participation in Europe as well. So at some point, we could see even Saliba getting a rest, right? So I'd say that Timber is a sure starter at the moment, but like almost every other player, he could see some rotations for the next 3 to 5 game weeks. How come you jumped on De Bruyne so early? Just curious. Good question. So it was because of the postponement of the Everton Liverpool game. We knew that there was a risk of that game being postponed, and when we got the confirmation, I just thought that selling Mo Salah to bring in De Bruyne was a really good punt for last game week. In addition, my bench wasn't the best last game week. I had Gabriel. I didn't really expect him to play last game week, and of course he didn't. And I had Buenanotte on my bench as well, and he played against Brighton, which is his parent club, so he was not liable to play. So my bench were really thin for game week 15, and it was like I couldn't afford having Salah on the bench as well. So I took a punt on Kevin De Bruyne. I was really excited when they announced the Man City lineup and he started, but yeah, he blanked. Actually, at times, he played really well in that game, and he probably should have had at least an assist and had a couple of chances as well. So it could have been another story if he got some points. But initially, the plan was to just bring Salah back, but after giving it some more thought, I'm willing to give Kevin De Bruyne another chance this game week, and hopefully he can match or outscore Salah. So I like Man City's fixture against Man United, and I think that Fulham are probably a bit underrated, as mentioned earlier on this stream. Yeah, no, Salah is very risky, but I respect it for sure. Thanks. I know the risk though, and I just discussed it. I think that Salah probably will be around 130, 140% ownership, so it will really sting if he holds in game week 16, of course. But hopefully my other players can cover, and I think that Palmer, even if I had Salah, I think that Palmer would probably be my captain. Cole Palmer, he is the leader in the captain poll in the chat as well. Make sure to go and vote. Salah is on 30% and Palmer is on 70%, so a knockout at the moment, but it's 10 votes, so it can change real quick. If Salah gets a couple of votes, it will be really close. Current team is Raya, Aitnuri, Van Dijk, Mikulenko, Palmer, Salah, Saka, Johnson, Enzo, Isak, and Joao Pedro. Just need a Mikulenko replacement. So, good team. I like this team. I would love to have Isak this game week. I think that he will probably do well in the next couple of game weeks, but I will just keep Havertz and hope that he can score as well. And so I'm not the biggest fan. Actually, someone in the chat said that I hated Enzo. That's maybe a step too far, but I know that Enzo has done really well, but I can't see it being sustainable, and I think that his goals will dry up, but of course he's in form at the moment. He will probably continue starting for Chelsea, so at that price he's probably worth a punt. Mykolenko, if I were to replace Mykolenko at the moment, I would probably look at someone like Kirkis. I know that I'm benching him this game week. Excuse me. He's on my bench at the moment, but that's only because I have Jared Bowen playing against him. So I'm maximizing the potential for points by benching my defenders that has a game against my attackers. So I like Kirkis. He is attacking and he has good fixtures coming up. So Kirkis is a decent replacement for Mykolenko for sure. I'm not sure that Mykolenko actually, especially if you're not going to play him every game week, I'm not sure that it's worth spending a transfer on selling him, because Everton are not doing that bad when it comes to defending. They kept 3 clean sheets in the last 4 game weeks, so I'll be honest, I also dislike Enzo, but for 5 mil I need it as an enabler for Isak. Yeah, and I think that this is probably one of the reasons why he is on the top 4 transfers in. Over 320,000 managers have actually bought Enzo in ahead of game week 16. Probably to afford an upgrade from the likes of Vissa to Isak, and probably a lot of upgrades to Trent in defense as well. How much can you spend on your Mykolenko replacement? Is like same price point, or do you have something in the bank? I, as mentioned, would probably prefer going Kirkis, but I also like Timber from Arsenal and Estupinian. That's the differential. Another new subscriber, thanks so much for subscribing. So it's now 2,663. Really appreciate it. Make sure to like this stream as well if you're able to, because I think that I've been told that if the stream gets a lot of likes, then it gets shown to more people, so then it's possible that we'll get even more viewers and even more activity in the chat. But I really appreciate everyone who has tuned in, and especially those who have subscribed today. Really appreciate it. If I get rid of Mykolenko, I have 6.2, so perfect amount for Gabriel, but risky for this week. Would then look to Timber, but he's a benching risk, and Bournemouth, it's a bit dodgy for Kirkis, so I don't know. Yeah, it's like for Kirkis' price, it's like we probably can't expect that much, but I see the temptation of getting Gabriel in, but let's have a quick look at your team again. So who are your players on the bench? You listed 11 players. Raya, Aitnuri, Van Dijk, Miklenko, Palmer, Salah, Saka, Johnson, Enzo, Isak, and Joe Pedro. So if you have the possibility to just bench Mikolenko and get Gabriel next game week, that would be probably something to consider, but I suspect that you have someone on your bench that will not play, or someone like Greaves or something. Just subscribe. Thank you very much for subscribing, Orange Apple. Really appreciate it. So I had this YouTube channel for over a year now, but I just recently started the live streaming. So I started this season to set up some streams and really enjoying it. Bench players are Fabianski, Greaves, Lewis, and yeah, that's not great than what I expected. So the question is, with those players, how confident are you in keeping Rico Lewis? Is he a player that you trust going forward, or are you willing to maybe sell Lewis instead of Mikolenko? Because I think that Mikolenko is a really decent bench option at that price, and Everton are really good when they play teams around the same strengths. As mentioned, they kept 3 clean sheets in their last 4 game weeks. Sean Dyche, Pickford in goal, and Tarkovsky, Mikolenko, who can contribute with assists as well. So I think that Mikolenko is decent if you don't have to play him each week, and by selling Lewis to someone like, the mentioned Kirkis, or if you want to take a punt on Estupinian and bench Mikolenko this week, I think that will work as well. Rico is still a decent option. I see him starting more games than not, to be honest. So not a bad bench and potential starter every now. Yeah, if you believe that he will continue starting, he probably will. But it's like with him, we know that he will not start every game, but at the price for a Man City defender, it's probably worth it if he start most games. And as we saw in game week 15, he can contribute with attacking returns as well. So if you think that he will continue to deliver, then of course, then you should keep him. Selling Lewis wouldn't enable anyone else that Mikolenko wouldn't, and Everton's fixtures are absolutely horrible over the next 4 weeks. So, bigger sell. Yeah, and especially if you're going to play this player most weeks, then and you have those funds available, then I agree it's probably better to just sell Mikolenko. So have you watched any of the Brighton games recently? And had a look at Estupinian. They still have decent fixtures for the foreseeable, and he is starting to find some of the form that I remember from the 22-23 season, where he did really well. I think that he was close to 50% ownership at some point, and of course he had most of last season ruined because of injuries. Sadly got to go, but if you're live for the deadline tomorrow, I'll try to hop in. If not, have a great week and best of luck this game week. Likewise. best of luck. And actually, I will try to set up a stream tomorrow, a couple of hours before the deadline. Would really appreciate if you joined in. And thanks for all the contributions, Orange Apple, and of course, thanks for subscribing. Really appreciate it. Brighton defense too dodgy for Estepina at the moment, in my opinion. We need to see more returns first. Yeah, I get that. Not the best defense, but hopefully the good fixtures can create some form. And I think that he's been kind of unlucky not getting any attacking returns for the last couple of games. Do you think it's worth taking out Wissa and Son for Isak and Enzo, Mitoma or Bowen for -4? Let's see. So that's selling Wissa and Son to bring in Isak and one of Enzo, Mitoma or Bowen. Yeah, that's probably one of the best -4s I've seen tonight. I see some transfer suggestions over at X as well, and people bringing in Enzo. To be honest, I don't really like bringing in Enzo, especially not for a hit. So if you can sell Visa and Son to bring in Isak and Bowen, I would definitely consider those moves. I like Mitoma as well, but if you have the possibility to bring in Jared Bowen, I really like him for the next couple of fixtures. We just talked about the captain poll, it being an overwhelming lead to Cole Palmer, but at the moment it's really close. Salah 38, Palmer 54, and Saka 8%. So Palmer still the favorite. Salah is really close, and Saka has also got his first vote of the evening. Thanks, mate. We'll do that. Yeah, hopefully it will work out for you, Ivan. I think those are really good options. You will bring in 2 players that's nailed on and on penalties, and both Newcastle and West Ham have really good fixtures. So yeah, Wissa and Son to Bowen and Isak. Isak is actually the bookie's favorite for anytime goal scorer in game week 16. Newcastle, they are playing at home against Leicester, and Isak is on 58% to score in that game. Newcastle are also one of the favorites to keep a clean sheet. They're second, only beaten by Arsenal. So Newcastle have been given a 43% chance of keeping a clean sheet. I'm not sure if this was set before or after the news about Pope being injured, but yeah, I'll check that later. When it comes to anytime goal scorer, I mentioned Isaac. He is top of the list. Haaland, he is second for Man City's game against Man United, and Salah, he is third with 51%. So really close between Haaland and Salah, but Isak is actually clear favorite this game week when it comes to the bookies predicted anytime goal scorer. I have the option to bring in Isak. I will have to sell Havertz, and I'll probably just save the transfer. I also have the possibility to bring in Salah for Kevin De Bruyne, but I will take a punt on Kevin De Bruyne to match or outscore Salah for game week 16. So that's like my biggest punt for game week 16. Will be really, really interesting. I will be watching that Liverpool game. I will probably have to hide behind the couch at times, but hopefully it will be an enjoyable watch. And the captaincy for me will be on Cole Palmer playing on Sunday. That's great. Who do you think is the best captain this week? I think that probably Cole Palmer is the best option. If you bring in Isak, he would be actually my second option, and Salah would probably be the next on my captain list for game week 16. FPL Isak gonna hold this way. Yeah, I have that feeling as well. So at the same time, I think that Arsenal can do well. Havertz playing up top as their number 9. I need to get a couple of free transfers. I only have one at the moment, so as mentioned, I could sell Havertz to bring in Isak, but I will probably save, and hopefully Havertz can score and do well for Arsenal. So it's not like Havertz is a sell, even though Isak is tempting. I will have a bit more patience with Havertz. I don't really see Havertz as a punt, but of course, my biggest punt this game week, as mentioned, is to keep Kevin De Bruyne and avoid Salah for game week 16. Saka could hold, quite a few players could hold. I definitely agree, especially this game week. There are a lot of good FPL options, highly owned as well, that plays at home against a weaker opponent. So, yeah, as mentioned early in this stream, 10 out of 11 players in my team are actually playing at home. So I know this is the case for a lot of teams. So game week 16 might actually be a really high scoring game week, and my hope is just that Liverpool gets a tough game against Fulham and that Salah does not score a hat-trick. That's my wish for game week 16. And of course, De Bruyne to get something against one of his favorite opponents, Man United, on Sunday. So once again, thanks for all who have tuned in to the stream. To those who have subscribed, really appreciate it. And of course, everyone in the comments. I will try to set up a deadline stream tomorrow, a couple of hours before the deadline. So make sure to tune in, say hi if you have the possibility to do so. That would be really appreciated. But thanks for joining in, and if I don't talk to you tomorrow, I wish you best of luck for game week 16, and hopefully I will see you next time. Good luck, everyone. Join in tomorrow for the deadline stream if you can. So, with those words, I wish you a nice weekend and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye bye.